All right, guys, welcome to the last section here of Math 3, and this is called margin of error. In general, margin of error is just like how far off you are in one direction or the other. Um, I'll give you an example as we start. If I say that I think your grade is going to be a 95 and the margin of error is 5, then that means 5 less and 5 more. That means that I'm pretty confident that I thought your grade would be a 95, but I know that it'll be somewhere between a 90 and a 100 because a margin of error at 5 would be 5, anywhere from 5 less than that to 5 more than that. Okay, so that's just an example to kind of get you thinking about this. According to a recent study in 2014 by the RAND Corporation, in the United States, there are 9.3 million more people that have gained healthcare coverage over the previous year. There is a margin of error of plus and minus. That means because we're going to add and subtract 3.5 million. So what the type of error is often referred to as a margin of error, like I just talked about. So the least number of people that could have gained coverage. The corporation said 9.3 million. That's what they said. But they could be off by, it says, plus or minus 3.5 million. So the least number of people that could have gained coverage would be 9.3 minus 3.5 million, which would give you 5.8 million. That would be your lowest number possible. And your highest number possible that gained coverage would be 9.3 plus 3.5. So that would be 12.8 million. So in this scenario, the corporation said that 9.3 million people have gained coverage, but it's got to be somewhere between 5.8 and 12.8. Okay. Number 2, a recent study in 2013 conducted in Canada shows house values were reduced in value by an average amount of 15%, but the margin of error was plus and minus 4.9%. Because the previous owner had smoked in the house. What is the maximum, that means the biggest, percentage that the house value could have been reduced? So to find the maximum amount, we would add that 4.9% to our 15%. If we wanted to find the lowest amount, we would subtract the 4.9% from the 15%. So since we're looking for the maximum, like I underlined there, you're going to say 15% plus 4.9%. That will give you 19.9%. That's the maximum amount that it could have been reduced. B, the median house price in Ontario, Canada, was equivalent to $244,000. What might be the worst possible average price for homeowners that have smokers in their house? So again, think about what can happen. The worst that can happen in number 2 is that their house can go down 19.9%. So if we take the value of their house, $244,000, and we multiply it by 0.199, which stands for 19.9%, this is the amount that their house would go down, $48,556. So if it loses 19.9% of value, then it loses $48,556. If the house's original value was $244,000 and it loses $48,556, then the worst possible price that it might have is it would now be worth $195,444. And if you look, here's how I typed it into the calculator to get the work for my answer there. Okay, let's move to number 3, the last one on the first page. A study at a school conducted showed that batteries used by calculators lasted an average of 101 days with a margin of error of plus or minus 9%. So not 9 days, but 9%. So what is the minimum average number of days a teacher can expect to have batteries in her classroom? So we want the lowest amount. So we're going to be subtracting. So first of all, we have 101 days, and we want to multiply by 9%, which is the margin of error. So times 0.09, that gives us 9.09. And you can see I did that in the calculator over here to the right. Then, since we want the minimum number of days, so that's our margin of error, 9.09 days, then we're going to subtract it from 101. So 101 minus 9.09 leaves us with, it would be 91.91 days, which would be approximately or close to 92 days. So the teacher could expect the batteries to last about at least 92 days on average. Okay. B, there are roughly 279 days from the first day of school until the last day of school. The teacher has 24 TI-84 calculators, and each one requires 4 AAA batteries. If the teacher can buy AAA batteries at 52 cents per battery, how much do you think she's going to need to spend? Well, first of all, the first important part here is there are 279 days from the first day to the last day. And we know that the batteries will last at least 92 days. We got that from our earlier problem. So 279 divided by 92 gives us about 3, just over 3. You get 3.03. So that means you need about 3 sets of batteries to get through the whole school year, because they're going to start to run out, right, every 92 days. So you need about 3 sets. Now, each set of batteries would take us so we need about 3 sets of batteries. So our cost is we need 3 sets of batteries for 24 calculators. Now, each calculator takes 4 batteries, right? So let's think, what is 24? So we need 3 sets, so that's 3 times 24 calculators times 4 batteries in each calculator times each battery costs 52 cents. So if we multiply all that together, 3 sets of batteries in 24 calculators with 4 batteries each for 52 cents per battery, if we multiply all that together, we get about $149.76. So she's going to end up spending about $150 on batteries to make it through that year. All right, and that is page 1. Let's run quickly to page 2, to numbers 4, 5, and 6. Number 4 says, according to a recent 2013 government study, the average 4-year education at a public college or university is going to cost you about $8,944 with a margin of error of plus or minus 7.2%. So 7.2% as a decimal, if you divide it by 100, that's how you can get it as a decimal, is 0.072. So the first thing we want to do, you can look at my work over here or over here, is multiply 8,944 by 0.072. And that gives you $643.97. That is your margin of error, okay? We want to subtract that and add that. This should say maximum right here, so I apologize if you if it doesn't say that on your paper. This in B should say what is the maximum average cost of tuition. Okay, so go back to that in part B. So that should say what is, instead of what is the minimum, it should say what is the maximum. So what is the minimum average cost of tuition? We take the 8,944 and we subtract the 643.97. That gives us the lowest possible cost of tuition. And to get the highest, we take the 8,944 and we add the 643.97, because that is our margin of error. That's how low it could possibly go, and this is how high it could possibly go. And there you see the calculator work to the right. Okay, C says, Living expenses and books are expected to cost another $11,120 per year with a margin of error of 5.2%. What is the maximum average cost for these additional expenses? So 11,120 times 5.2% is 0.052. So we get $578.24. To find the maximum average cost, we want to add. And so we're going to take $11,120 and add the $578.24, which will give us a maximum extra cost of $11,698.24. And again, you can see my work over here in the calculator. So D says if the college you plan to attend charges roughly the average amount, what is the maximum amount you will need to spend for tuition, living expenses, and books? So take the highest amount in the first thing for the tuition, and you get $9,587.97. That was our highest amount. Take the highest amount for these extra expenses, and you get $11,698.24. If you add those two highest amounts together, you're going to get $21,286.21. That's how much it would cost for 1 year. Now, we're assuming you attend for 4 years, so we just want to multiply that answer by 4. And so after 4 years, that means you would be spending $85,144.84. All right, let's move to number 5 real quick. A new antiviral flu study found that participants that took their medication found the flu lasted an average of 2.8 days with a margin of error of plus or minus 11.3%. A control group that did not take any antiviral medicine found the flu lasted 4.1 days with a margin of error of 15.3%. So let's look at the group that took the medicine. Their average was 2.8. Their margin of error was 11.3%. So we're going to take 2.8 and multiply it by 0.113. That would be 11.3%. And that gives us 0.3164. Okay? That's our margin of error. So to find the smallest amount of days it could take, we'll do 2.8 minus that number, and we'll get 2.48 days. That's the lowest it could take to get over the flu. And the highest is to take 2.8 and add that number, and you get 3.12 days. So if you took medicine, it's going to take you somewhere between 2.48 and 3.12 days to get over the flu. Okay? If you did not take medicine, your average was 4.1 days. We're going to multiply that, the margin of error of 15.3%, so that's 0.153. You get 0.6273. To find the lowest amount of days it may take you to get over the flu, you subtract that from 4.1, and that would give you 3.47. To find the highest number of days it would take you to get over the flu, you add that to 4.1, and you get 4.73. So in general, you can see that if you take medicine, it only takes you between 2.48 and 3.12 days to get over the flu. And if you don't take medicine, it takes you between 3.47 and 4.73 days to get over the flu. Okay? So the medicine should have helped because you can see that it's lower than those that did not take medicine. And that's your explanation there. So lastly, number 6, it says a confidence interval is commonly created that will give you the lowest amount and the highest amount. Okay, so it says using a high confidence interval, the average salary for a Georgia household in 2013 was determined to be between $45,400 and $53,800. So we want to know what's the middle. What's right in between $45,400 and $53,800? In math, we refer to that as the midpoint. So what's the middle? Right in the middle of these two numbers. So to find the midpoint, you would add the two together and divide by 2. So if you add 45,400, which is the lowest their salary could be, and 53,800, which is the highest their salary could be, and then divide by 2, you get an average salary of $49,600, right in the middle of those two numbers. So in B, the newspaper would like to know what's the margin of error. So list the margin of error. Well, take the middle, $49,600, and subtract 45,400, the lowest, and you get 4,200. And if you take the highest amount, 53,800, and subtract the middle, you still get 4,200. So we know the margin of error is $4,200 because that's how far these two numbers are from the middle. They're $4,200 away. That's our margin of error. So what percent is that margin of error? To find how big of a percent that is, we take 4,200 and divide it by our middle number, 49,600. When we divide it by that, we get 0.085. So 0.085, when you move the decimal 2 places, is 8.5%. So the margin of error of $4,200 is actually 8.5%. So that was margin of error. And again, we know that that's a tough topic, and it's a topic that will be covered more in depth in statistics, and you'll get to have a more understanding of it. But I wanted to introduce you to it here in Math 3 so that you get a good introduction and you've seen it. Now, remember, so hopefully a lot of you guys in the Math 3 honors, I'll see you in the AP statistics next year or next semester. I'd love for you to sign up because really that's the next class, hopefully, that you'll join in order to continue your math success. If you're in a regular Math 3 class, then I would encourage you to try the Math 4, right? Math 4 would be your next step. Okay, so again, I've enjoyed the time with you guys this semester. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be here in person these last few weeks, but I will be here for exam review. I'm going to reiterate, if you have work for the course to make up or work to do, then you may come Monday morning between 8 and 11 to kind of make up that work. If you second period exam review, where we will go over the questions on the exam for second period, that's Math 3 honors, that is on Monday afternoon. So that starts about 12, I believe, 12:15 until 3 o'clock. So we have a 3-hour session. We'll take a break in the middle. We'll go through all the released exam questions, how to work them, Desmos. Bring your released exam questions. Also bring a computer if you're able to. Then the third period, your exam review is Tuesday morning. So you need to be there first thing Tuesday morning from about 8 to 11. We will go through, again, 3 hours. We will go over the exam. We'll go through how to work it, how to use Desmos, your released exam questions, all those things. And then Tuesday afternoon is assigned for fourth period. I don't have one. So again, if there's work or coursework that you need to do to improve your grade or to work on that you haven't turned in, that would be a time you could come in for that. So those are our exam review sessions. And then remember, the Math 3 exam is later next week, and that's an early 8 a.m. exam on Thursday. So thank you guys. You want to go to IXL for today. Let me go over the IXL. So on the IXL, it asks you to identify an outlier and then describe the effect of removing it. So this should be fairly easy. So you look at all the numbers and you say, what number is really far away from the others? That's our outlier. And in this case, that's got to be the number 7. All the other numbers are at least, 46? So 7 is way far away from all the others. And then if you remove that 7, what does it do to the average? So if you remove a really small number, it should then increase the average. It's kind of like if I remove a really low grade that you made in class, then your average score will increase, right? So it will increase the average. Now, if our outlier is a really big number, so let's say, and again, in this one, obviously the outlier has to be 991. It's a huge number. All the other ones are 2 digits. If let's say that you made all low grades in class and then somehow on one assignment you got 100, but if I removed that 100, what would that do? That would decrease your average. So anytime you take a high outlier and you get rid of it, your average then decreases. So that's what we're looking at today. Really quickly, there shouldn't be many questions. So you want to identify which number is the outlier, and then when you get rid of it, does it increase or decrease your average? I'm going to take your scores that you have in Canvas and move them to PowerSchool. So what you need to do is look in Canvas and see, have I submitted everything? If you submitted everything, you at least have like the little rocket ship beside it. And then when I grade it, the grade will go in Canvas and then it will get transferred to PowerSchool later today. Okay. So you need to check. So take a check of PowerSchool over the weekend and see what your updated grade is for the course. And if you need to come in Monday morning or Tuesday afternoon when we're not doing exam review to make up some assignments, get some things printed off that you need to do, you can. You are allowed to continue working in the course through next week. So there's no new assignments. This was the very last assignment. But next week, you will be allowed to continue working in this course. And I would encourage you to do that. If you're missing anything and you need to pull your grade up, that would be a great idea for you to do. So, all right, thank you, and I will see you guys